Welcome to Unit 3. In this unit, we will be reviewing resource dependence theory. My name is Dara Snyder-Jans, and I will be your narrator for this unit. In this unit, I will use seminal research to define the basics of this theory, describe specific assumptions of the theory, then discuss some of the criticisms and critiques. Finally, I will discuss applied research in this area. Resource dependence theory addresses how external resources of an organization can impact the behavior of that organization. The argument of resource dependency theory can be summarized as follows. First, organizations depend on resources. Next, these resources originate from an organization's environment. The environment contains other organizations, and the resources of one organization's needs are thus often in the hand of another organization's. Keep in mind, resources are a basis of power. Legally independent organizations can therefore depend on each other. Power and resource dependence are directly linked, where organization A's power over organization B is equal to organization B's dependence on organization A's resources. Thus, power is relational, situational, and potentially mutual. Resource dependence theory proposes a cyclical process with three parts. Every organization needs resources to survive. This leads to interdependence. This interdependence then leads to uncertainty. In order to reduce uncertainty, organizations will form coalitions, pool resources, and change their strategy in order to survive. Three factors then can influence this resource dependence. 1, the importance of that resource to that organization. 2, the abundance of it. And 3, who controls that resource. As can be seen from these arguments, resource dependence theory has various implications regarding the optimal divisional structure of organizations, recruitment of board members and employees, production strategies, contract structure, and external buyer-supplier relationships. Let's move on to some of the main assumptions of resource dependence theory. As you can see from preliminary discussions on transaction cost theory and agency theory, there are some distinct similarities and connections between these theories, including their focus on the relationships between firms as well as individuals. However, there are distinct differences. Resource dependence theory focuses on power, whereas transaction cost economics theory and agency theory focuses on opportunism, trust, and efficiency. As with every theory, there will always be critiques and criticisms. Some of the criticisms and critiques for resource dependence theory are as follows. First, resource dependence theory has been considered to be too narrow in comparison to other common theories. Although Pfeffer and Lansing, key enablers, emphasized in their original formulation that organizational managers could respond to dependencies in a number of ways, including symbolic responses, research seemed to settle on absorption as the most common and effective response. Dependence absorption essentially means that organizations seek to eliminate the source of its dependence through co-optation, mergers, acquisitions, etc. Thus, many of the most famous resource dependence studies are about acquisition or merger patterns across industries. While absorption is certainly a common response, resource-dependent scholars' fascination with it may have unintentionally diverted scholars from exploring a diversity of ways in which firms can manage dependence relations. The theory narrowed its focus too quickly. Second, resource dependence theory lacked the community builders its competitors had. Promotion of the theory dwindled, and little work has been done to enhance its contribution. Now, let's discuss some of the research conducted on resource dependence theory. Seminal works included the most famous, Pfeffer and Lansing, 1979, who introduced the theory, as well as Ulrich's 1984 work. While resource dependence theory is not commonly used in comparison to other theories discussed, there's some relatively recent work specific to supply chain management. For example, Crook and Combs' 2007 article combines resource dependence theory with predicting the use of bargaining power in supply chain management. Ireland and Webb 2007's article provides an explicit connection between transaction cost economics and resource dependence theory to balance the climate of trust and power in supply chain management. Congratulations, now you know more about resource dependence theory.